Start of another week in the middle of the red hot summer. And it's like nothing slowed down, right? Usually the summer, things like slow down, slow down, slow down. I don't know what's going to happen this week, but I'm going to start my show today the way I started my morning this morning at 5:30. I got up, I couldn't sleep. I decided I'd do a little work, so I opened my iPad. I opened my iPad to the Wall Street Journal, and I saw the following headline. Do you now see the following headline? I'm not sure. Does Getter see it?
Getter does not see it.
Okay, then I'm going to hold up the headline and the underlinings as well. You see that headline, ladies and gentlemen, all my friends? The headline says, Ukraine lack of arms dims hope for war breakthrough. I want you to read it again. Ukraine lack of arms. Here's the question. Now, please, this is not meant to be sarcastic. What happened to the money we gave him? Is this why we gave him money? Oh, and by the way, we don't have any arms. What happened to ours? Dimwit in chief announced a week ago we don't have any arms. I mean, I don't know. You can't say it was the stupidest thing he said, because we'd have to go through a long analysis of the dumbest thing said by any president ever and conclude it was the stupidest. The dumbest thing he did was take the troops out before the... It's impossible to even think of this. He took the troops out from Afghanistan before the civilians and left the civilians there with 4 major terrorist groups surrounding them, so the terrorist groups wouldn't be interrupted by troops when they went to kill them. He did. He did do that. And he gave up an air base 400 miles from China for no reason. And just to make it worse, he left behind $85 billion worth of equipment.
He also got service members killed, Mayor.
Oh, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened when he took the troops out. Well, we know 13 for sure, but there were a lot more than that. And then remember, the Afghan people that were killed were the ones who helped us. I mean, we got them all killed. But you have to be like, you got to have the IQ of a skunk to take. Never mind. But okay, let's focus on this. Ukraine lack of arms. How could this be? We have given them 113. How much?
113 billion with a B, Mayor.
Would you find out during the course of the show how much all those other countries tossed in? Because they tossed in almost an equal amount. Plus, if we don't have arms, who do we give them to? Do we give them to ISIS? Maybe.
Well, that's the thing, Mayor.
We don't have money. We gave him money.
So he has the money. Where are the arms?
Well, I could personally attest to where the arms are, Mayor. My family and friends who live in Italy, there's a bunch of arms that made it from Ukraine to Sicily and Italy, and they're selling them on the black market. So I can personally attest to that.
Wow.
Yeah. Ukrainians are selling arms.
No, not the Ukrainians, just black market arms dealers. They probably get it. Well, they get it from Ukrainian guys. Yeah, you're right. And then they sell it on the black market. They end up in Sicily. They end up in Eastern European gangs and stuff like that.
This is said for the good of the Ukrainian people. And this is not said to attack Ukraine at all, the Ukrainian people. If you give money to the Ukraine without strings on it, you're not giving it to the Ukrainian people. And the guy who should know that best is a guy who was a massive crook in the Ukraine, Joe Biden. There's nobody knows better how crooked the government of Ukraine is than Joe Biden. He made millions that way. But I mean, this is like when Obama gave the Ayatollah hundreds of millions. You give hundreds of millions of dollars to the Ayatollah. You know the government is the biggest sponsor of terrorism. And then you don't know that money is going to be used to kill innocent people. I mean, this is ridiculous. And this is the reason why this whole scandal with Biden, which is at the point where at any country, any place, he'd have been removed from office by now, is making us a crooked country. We're a dishonest, crooked country. To say that about our country is horrible. I mean, who can read this and not figure out what's going on? Plus, when you think of what you heard last week and now what you've heard for 5 years, the evidence of him getting bribed in the Ukraine, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. Believe me, I've been telling you tip of the iceberg for quite some time, and the iceberg is now starting to emerge, right? Right? I told you there'd be a lot more. There's a lot more to come. Do you know Zelensky knows everything I know and more? Because I only have one computer. He's got them all. He's got all the, as they say in Brooklyn, pictures. He's got all the pictures. So when Zelensky says, Mr. President, I'd like another 10. What do you think Joe's going to say? It's also payback time for when he shook them down, right? For the $1 billion. He said, if you don't fire that prosecutor. He never said it that way, by the way. He's not tough enough. That was all histrionics. He did it over the course of, first of all, he didn't do it in person. You're going to find out eventually. He did it in 4 telephone calls between about February 3rd or 4th, 2016, and about February 14th. A very unusual set of 4 long telephone calls. And here's the thing that makes them very, very interesting phone calls and extremely incriminating. On February 1st and 2nd, Shokin, the prosecutor general of Ukraine, executes an arrest warrant on Burisma. That's the company paying off Joe, run by Mykola Zlochevsky, the boss of the company, who's also an organized criminal oligarch, suspected murder. This is the kind of people they do business with. Now, he serves a subpoena, and then within 2 days, Biden's all over the telephone constantly for about a week with these long phone calls with Poroshenko. And Poroshenko relates to Shokin the substance of the telephone calls. And if you would like to know the substance of the telephone calls, oh gosh, you could go back to my podcast of 3 years ago, podcast number 3. You'll see Mr. Shokin sitting there. He doesn't look well because he had just been poisoned and just recovered from it. And I was in Ukraine. I snuck in to do it. And he will tell you that the president would come to him and say, Biden wants me out because he wants you to stop the investigation of Burisma. He says, I can't stop it. I mean, it'd be impossible for me to do it because you've been driving me crazy to do it for a year. And I got all my people to do it. And I don't know how to describe this, but it sort of has its own momentum now. And I think he would have been embarrassed to go back to the people that he went and had them do this, some of them at risk to their lives, and tell them stop it. And he was older, and he was a good friend of Poroshenko's. And he said, I'll ultimately, he said, if it's the only way my country can get the money, I'll resign. And then he did. Now, I'm going to tell you another thing that makes Biden guilty as hell. And why the heck he's still sitting there is beyond me. We got a known criminal sitting in the White House. The president of the Ukraine, when he fired Shokin, had to get the next prosecutor approved by Biden. When does the vice president of the United States get to approve a prosecutor in a foreign country? And he approves him. By the way, that's recorded in Joe's own voice. This isn't anybody making it up. The guy, you could convict Joe with his own words. It's outrageous that he's still sitting there. Well, somebody should look into exactly why Ukraine doesn't have arms. You also should know that Biden has consistently turned down an inspector general, which is often put in when we give money to a questionable country. There is also, and probably a lot more now, well known to me, podcast maybe 14, There's $5 billion in unaccounted foreign aid that Ukraine received up to 2017. That's never been accounted for. $3 billion of which came during the Obama administration. So Obama left office with $3 billion in unexplained foreign aid. Unexplained. We don't know what happened to it. Some of it was traced actually to Italy. It went off to Italy. Some of it went off to Cyprus.
Well, Mayor, you asked for the list of who gave money to Ukraine, and
because they have no money.
I have the list for you, and it's a lot of money. And I'm not going to read the whole list. I'll read the top 5 countries, and also the EU matched the country's donations, and I'll let you know which country that was. Obviously, the United States leads. This is in euros, by the way. 70 billion euros we gave Ukraine so far. Germany, they gave Ukraine 10 billion euros, and then the EU matched it with 10 million. The United Kingdom gave 10 billion. Sorry, 10 billion. The United Kingdom also gave 10 billion. France gave 5 billion, and then the EU matched it. And then Italy gave about 2, and then the EU matched that. So those are the top 5 countries that gave, and there's more.
Plus, and remember, we didn't just give them; we also gave them arms.
Right.
So how could they get all the money, they get all the arms, and they're out of arms, and we're out of arms. And I got to play this from Trump, and no one described this better than our former president. It could be a debate between him and Biden. I don't know. You think he'd make it? You think Biden make it to the end of the debate? I want you to listen to the former president of the United States explaining Biden's danger to our national security.
It's the most dangerous time in the history of our country because of weaponry. The nuclear power is so enormous. This isn't 2 army tanks going and shooting each other in World War I, World War II, with soldiers standing behind a bunker and shooting people. This is numbers, this is obliteration. And we have a man that doesn't understand what he's doing. We have a man that yesterday stood up and told the whole world that we have no ammunition. You know, I had every ammunition building full to the brim 3 years ago. We've given it all away. But if you gave it all away, it's terrible. The only thing worse than that is to tell the world that we have no. He has told China and these other places that are hostile that we have no ammunition. By the way, you talk about classified documents. That's worse than any document that you could give. So now these people are sitting back in China and others that hate us, including North Korea, who had a very good relationship with Kim Jong and kept our country safe. They're talking about the United States of America has no ammunition. Think of it. How stupid can somebody be to say that?
Well, that is an intelligent man who is in his 70s but has all his marbles. What a contrast, right? It sounds like he should be president, doesn't it? Yeah. I think we'd be safer if he were president. With that analysis that he just did?
No, democracy will die in darkness if he's president. Duh. Don't you know that, Mayor? The New York Times said, or the Washington Post.
Well, if they said it, of course.
Of course. That's all that matters. That's gospel.
Yeah, that's what they said. I remember.
Yeah.
So now what's going on with the Biden investigation? After last week, the guy should have just been removed from the White House. They should have executed some kind of warrant and thrown him out. But they can't do that. And here's what's disgusting. What's disgusting is no Democrat has the guts. Well, let's put it this way. No Democrat cares about this country enough to walk into the White House, ask for a meeting with him, like one of the senior senators, and say, it's time to go. And the president would say, why? Because you're a damn crook. That's why. Now let's cut it out. He's a crook. We're going to go through more of these games. We got to do more. How much more do you need? How much more do you need? There are the bank accounts. There's 8 witnesses, at least. There's his own son saying, for 30 years, I gave half of my income to Pop. There's a money laundering transaction that goes back to 2016, also in February. in which the Bidens got $3.1 million with money denominated for the vice president. I don't know. There's so much evidence that a trial would be a joke. It'd be a joke because the evidence is of all kinds. There are witnesses, including none. Some of you haven't even heard from yet from Ukraine that I have. We haven't even talked to the woman who says she can open the foreign bank accounts. I haven't even looked at that yet, and we're about 40 million. During the height of Watergate, a Republican who had run for president of the United States, so he's a senior member of the Republican Party, had been castigated and made fun of, and Lyndon Johnson made believe the guy would blow up the world if he became president. It was sort of the beginning of the insanity of the Democrats and the insanity of the press doing these exaggerated, crazy things about Republicans, like they're doing with Trump now, and like they're doing with January 6th, and like they're doing with the stolen election and the whole thing. Barry Goldwater was a very fine man, a war hero, a pilot, a real sort of old-fashioned, like cowboy American type. And he asked for an appointment with the president, Richard Nixon. And I don't know the conversation, the details of the conversation. I don't know if it was angry or if it was cordial or if it was serious. I'm sure it was serious. And he said, I'm coming here representing, most of the party. And he said, Mr. President, you have to resign for the good of the country. Do you think there's a Democrat in Washington who loves this country enough to do that? You can't have this man sitting, you can't have a man sitting there day after day after day. As this evidence comes in, it's going to get worse, that he was taking money and selling out his country. We have no idea if his decisions about Ukraine are made on the merits or they're made because they bribed him. We know his decisions on China come about because he was bribed. We know it. You couldn't possibly make so many favorable decisions to China without being bribed. You couldn't possibly give up an airbase 400 miles from China unless you were bribed.
This is the most dangerous time in the history of our country.
See, he agrees.
President
I would say
Trump is chiming in, Mayor.
Yeah, he wants to be part of this, right? Mr. President, you can't be part of everything. But the fact is, now we have a person coming forward named Devin Archer. Exactly who is Devin Archer? Devin Archer was Hunter Biden's business partner all throughout. He, along with Hunter was paid $1 million. He was paid $1 million by Zlochevsky, $83,000 a month. He was on the board of Burisma. According to the articles in the paper today, and I guess from the committee, Devin Archer is prepared at minimum to testify that at least 24 times he was with Hunter. And at the conclusion of one of these crooked deals with a foreign country, he put his father on the phone, and his father approved it in one way or another, was informed of it, approved it. Meetings were set up with the foreign bribe givers, including the most important one being the number 2 guy at Burisma, who met with him. There's also a text of that. There's also an email of that. There's also a record of that. Remember, Joe Biden has testified. Joe Biden has said 1,000 times for 10 years, I never talked to my son about his foreign business. I don't know anything about his foreign business. I've never been involved in any of him. Right? They never bothered to ask. How could you possibly know if there's a conflict if you don't know who he's doing business with? That alone is what you would call gross negligence. If you do not ask if you do not ask, you're not going to know. And of course, it's absurd to think that they weren't discussing it. Well, this testimony of Devin Archer would blow that up. That lie alone would convict him as a false exculpatory statement because he's made it so material, because he said it so often. And why do you tell a lie like that so often? To cover your massive bribery. So according to the newspaper reports, Devin Archer, among other things, and if that's all he testifies to, it's deadly. Now was supposed to testify today or tomorrow. He's put it off. I will tell you, I'm not at liberty to tell you how. I mean, I've known this information for a long, long time. So I have my own way of verifying this. It is not for certain because a decision like this is very, very difficult. I've lived through decisions like this when people have to decide whether to testify against the mafia and put their lives at risk, right? Or against terrorists and put their lives at risk. I think he's going to testify. And if he does, by anything fair, just, good for the country, it's over. It's over if he testifies to this. He blows up the only defense Biden had. I never talked to my son 24 times. By the way, and to verify this and to corroborate it, you got pictures, you got emails, you have texts, and you've got other witnesses, Bobolinsky, Gilliers. He's telling the truth. The other guy's lying. Just like the IRS agents last week were telling the truth. Just like Zlochevsky's telling the truth. Yes, he gave him a $5 million bribe for him and a $5 million bribe for Joe. How does it feel to have a president who took a $5 million bribe? How does it feel to have a president whose family and he, in the last 7 years, have taken $31 million from Red China? For whatever reason. Why would a guy who was vice president, wants to be president, take $31 million from Red China? Unless he's a miserable crook, a disgusting, horrible, amoral, immoral, evil crook. The kind that disowns his granddaughter and probably causes psychological problems for the rest of his life because he's such a pathological narcissist. Archer, according to probably the best source on all things Hunter Biden, according to Miranda Devine in her article today, which is superb, as all her articles are, could testify about all the times he's witnessed Joe Biden meeting with Hunter Biden's overseas business partners when he was vice president, including a number on speakerphone. There was one such meeting in Dubai late in the evening of Friday, December 4, 2015, after a board meeting of Burisma. And Archer put the number 2 guy, Vadim Poharsky, on the phone, and then Mykola Zlochevsky to speak to Joe Biden. And he referred to them as Nikolai and Vadim. And then you have a text saying that the Burisma bigwigs need our support. What is the vice president of the United States doing supporting a country that Obama's own State Department, a company that Obama's own State Department says is the most crooked company in Ukraine? What they're doing is they're extorting money out of it because he's not really a vice president. He's a sniveling, rotten little crook. That's what he is, who took his first bribe when he was 29 years old and cheated when he probably was in grammar school. 3 days after the speakerphone call, Biden flies to the Ukraine. and he gives a speech and about democracy, about corruption. How ridiculous, how hypocritical. And by the way, our ambassador at the time, Jeffrey Pyatt, had described Zlochevsky, Biden's boss, and the guy paying the bribe to Joe Biden, as one of, or the most corrupt man in Ukraine. That's Obama's ambassador. Well, you can read the rest of it. It's one after another, after another, after another. There's dinner on April 16th with Yelena Buturina, who gives Hunter $3.5 million in cash. Close personal friend of Putin. There's an email from Pozarski thanking Hunter for setting up the meeting with his father. How long do we keep him there? How much longer do we get slapped in the face with this crook in the White House? I'm not even talking about how demented he is. I'm talking about this crook in the White House. How much more of this are we going to have to go through? Today, it also came out that the IRS was stopped from questioning Biden's sister, Valerie Biden-Owens, because she received some of this money. What's she doing receiving Ukrainian money? His sister. At least the IRS wants to know, what was it for? Apparently, it wasn't on any tax return. I wonder if it was on hers. They were blocked from doing it. I've never heard of the IRS being blocked from interviewing someone. I did probably 100 IRS investigations. I've never heard of the IRS being blocked. I've never heard of the IRS, the FBI, me, or anyone else being blocked. And if I had been blocked, the whole world would have known about it. Because if I was blocked, you were a damn crook if you blocked me. What do you mean you don't question her? She got money from a crooked company. The money, by the way, was laundered to the United States, and it went to his sister. Who the hell is she that she doesn't get questioned? And it was blocked. How do we accept this? How do the Democrats accept this? It's their country, too. It's their country. They are rotting. They're rotting their country. The most important thing in a country, the system of justice, they have ruined it, these damn Democrats. And not a single one of them will stand up and walk into his office and say, Joe, it's time to go. Because you are disgracing us. Any more of these revelations, we're not going to be able to recover our reputation as an honest country. You're ruining it. You're also a demented, dumb jackass. Get the hell out of here before you press the wrong button.
Well, Mayor, should we take a quick commercial break and come back?
No.
Okay.
Second, there is one Democrat. There is one Democrat that has stood up. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who on Sunday said, the issues that are now coming up are worrying enough that we really need a real investigation of what happened. I mean, these revelations where you have Burisma, which is this notoriously corrupt company that paid out apparently $10 million to Hunter and his dad. If that's true, then it's really troubling. So I think it needs to be investigated. I don't know. I'd like a little stronger than that, but we'll take it. Newt Gingrich, as you would imagine, went much further than that and says it's a den of thieves and he should be thrown the hell out of the White House. That's a little more direct. So it's time. It's time for the Goldwater moment. It's time for him to be out. And don't tell me about Harris, and Harris can't do it, and this, that, and the other thing. we'll get through Harris. Harris, as far as I know, didn't take $3.5 million from Russia and $31 million from China. So now we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we'll take a look at a very interesting picture. Faith and family, freedom and finance are four things that we would do anything to protect. I trust the team at Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors, with providing the advice and sound strategies to take advantage of the inflationary pressures, the high interest rates, and the international challenges we face today. The Kirk Elliott team, with over 29 years of experience, shares our values and believes in people over profit. They can help you protect your finances from the big government policies that are out of our control. So what's in our control? The decision to act or not to act is within our control. I encourage you to act. Call Kirk Elliott, PhD, Private Advisors today. Start working with a team that will help you protect your retirement assets with gold and silver while sharing your desire to protect your faith, family, and freedom. Call them today, 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900, and tell them Rudy sent you. Or simply fill out a request for a free consultation at kirkelliottphd.com/Rudy. And figure it out now. Oh, thank you for coming back. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. But let's give it a try because it's in the New York Post. This guy is Kevin Morris. Kevin Morris is the guy that gave a couple million to Biden. And on I guess it was Thursday of last week, Hunter went to visit him. Earlier in the day, this picture was taken of Kevin Morris. I would like you to take a look at this. Do the best you can with this, Mike, or
I got it. We got it up.
you got it? Okay.
Oh, it's up.
Now, you guys are younger than me. I want you to tell me what that is.
Mayor, that appears to be a smoking device called a bong that you smoke the weed out of.
Oh yeah, that's a bong.
Yes.
That's a what?
A bong. It's
A bong? B-O-N-G?
B-O-N-G. Have you heard
I've been out of drug prosecution for 30 years.
But did you ever hear of a bong during your time?
No.
So Mayor,
I don't think so. Or if I did, I've forgotten it.
How this works is you have some water on the bottom of a glass thing, and you light a bowl of weed, and the water turns into weed vapors.
Would this be only for marijuana, or could you use for crack and cocaine?
No, it's probably only for marijuana. I would say, Mayor. I never seen anyone smoke crack out of a bong.
It's a bong.
Because Hunter used to use that pipe for crack.
But a pipe and a bong are two totally different things.
That man right there. So that man is smoking.
Yeah.
Is smoking. Most likely marijuana. We don't know for sure.
Right.
Through that pipe, right? The smoke comes
just
up.
Just a little while later, our degenerate cocaine addict, Joe's son,
right,
who apparently can't stay off cocaine for more than 2 days, shows up to visit him.
You should hold that up for Getter, Mayor. They can't see it right now.
Yeah, well, let me take this one away.
Let Getter see that. There you go, Getter.
This is the guy who gave him the money. This is the guy who gave him the money.
Yeah.
Think maybe they do drugs together? He and Hunter?
No.
I would bet my life they do drugs together.
And you know the part that
I would bet my life they do drugs. I know drug addicts that they haven't changed.
Well, Mayor, in his defense, not to play the devil's
advocate.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He's in LA and weed is legal, so we really can't.
Yeah, but how much it shows what lack of respect they have for the American people, right?
Course.
Where they're willing to just do it out in the open, at least try to hide it, right?
Oh no, I'm saying the guy in the picture smoking weed in LA. That's legal. That's
if that is weed,
so
it is
he
legal.
goes and visits that guy.
Yeah, that's all.
Now I want you to give me odds on whether Hunter's clean.
Oh no.
Look at the face.
No.
Look at the face.
Look at him walking out of there.
No, look at Hunter's face.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's clean?
No.
Okay. Then in doing the investigation of the cocaine in the White House, why didn't they test him? Wasn't he the number one suspect? I mean, do you have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out he's the number one suspect? I mean, there are probably other massive drug users in Biden's White House. I have no doubt about it, knowing how Democrats operate. But, I mean, come on. They want to legalize marijuana. They want to legalize this. They want to legalize that. They're ruining Colorado. They're ruining New York City. New York City, they were going to do legal marijuana. There's going to be any room for legal marijuana. There are over 1,000 illegal places now. Once they, because they're so stupid, they don't start a legal operation. And we've tripled the number of marijuana users. And we're going to have bumper cars soon, like they have in Colorado. People do, and this idiot, Hunter, drives around smoking his pipe. We got pictures of him.
Hunter,
Yeah.
get off the weed.
I mean, Mayor, I've been.
How do we put up with this?
I've been to LA multiple times, and I got to say, they have the legal weed market on very official. It's very regulated. So I don't know why New York couldn't take a page out of the LA book. I'm very
well,
confused.
LA's doing really well.
No, it's not doing well. I'm just saying,
LA's
you know,
doing really well.
in the legal weed business, I'm talking.
It should fall off into the Pacific shortly after San Francisco.
Look, my biggest problem with it, Mayor, is how they're just willing to do it out in the open. All right, that shows what a lack of respect they have for the American people, right? At least show us that you're hiding it behind closed doors, right? But they're doing it out on the porch, facing the street.
I do not understand what this man is doing still in the White House. And I go back to the following. Is there no Democrat in the higher echelon of the Democrat Party that cares about this country? Not a single one. That you would allow a crook like this to be president of the United States, to disgrace us as an example to our children? Is there no one that can get beyond the unbelievably corrupt pull of the Democratic Party? If that's the case, you really should dissolve that party. I mean, after all, it has a terrible history.
Well, Mayor, I was going to say, let me run a theory by you, not like a conspiracy theory. Do you think that the Democrats know that possibly Hunter and Joe have a lot of dirt on all of them? Like maybe they were involved with the money laundering and all that stuff. Maybe that's why they're not really pressuring Joe Biden to get impeached. Like that's
now, Mike. That's I mean, logically, the answer to do I know that?
No, I'm just saying.
But
like,
logically, the answer to that would be yes. I have been told.
You know.
So I'll give you things that I've been told rather than I just can. I have been told that if Hunter and Joe go down, a lot of people go down with them. I've been told that.
That's why I think there's no
our side and their side, both.
Right. That's why I think there's no urgency for Democrats to have.
Yeah, they're very afraid that
right,
if you start really playing out what happened in Ukraine,
right,
you got about 10 of them are going to go.
Correct. That's why I think there's no urgency.
I mean, the Bidens were not the only one. What do they call it? Basically, it was a cash cow for Democrats. But now, let me be fair. There were 3 Republican names that came up in that group too. Not just Democrats.
No, I think it's both parties.
They, since they're in control and have been in control for quite some time, and also in fairness, because their party tends to be more corrupt because it comes from the big cities, where corruption really just seeps in. So they tend to have a lot more people that go to Washington that have a history of corruption. It's hard to come out of those machines and not be a crook. But you know, you give Republicans a chance to control Chicago for 55 years, they'll be corrupt too. It's just unfortunate, but they're not saints either. So now let's look at what's going on with Trump. They're going to indict him again. And again, they're a little ridiculous. Why don't you prove one case? So the 2 coming up, I don't even understand them. I don't even understand what they are. I mean, he told the people to go to the Capitol peacefully and patriotically. He didn't act fast enough when the stuff was going on. On the other hand, how did he know exactly what was going on? And his words wouldn't have stopped it anyway once it started. And finally, whatever happened is hardly what they exaggerated it into. It was bad, but it's been exaggerated to Pearl Harbor,
right?
9/11,
right? Revolution,
or even insurrection. They throw around the word insurrection. This is the only insurrection ever attempted without a gun. Nobody had a gun, and nobody's been charged with insurrection, much less proven. So cut it out. You exaggerated it because you wanted to destroy Trump, and now you want to charge him with the thing you exaggerated. I mean, this is like this is like chapter 7 of Russian collusion. Russian collusion, hard drive suppression, calling me a Russian pawn. I mean, lie after lie after lie. And every time we turn out to be telling the truth, they turn out to be lying, and then they lie again.
Well, Mayor, I have a question for you. The whole Georgia thing, they're trying to, you're the master of the RICO Act. So you know how the RICO Act works. You know, no one can get the RICO Act over your head. So they want to charge Trump with 1 count of racketeering for the Georgia thing. Right. So how can they do that?
For fighting
Right.
For fighting in a state that had a number of severe irregularities and fraudulent acts. I mean, there's clear proof of that. There's a legislative report, 120 pages, submitted in early January from Senator Bill Ligon with all of these things in it, which provides whether they're true or not. This is what the legislature concluded. So the president will have every right to feel that this was reasonable, as I would. And if you read Ligon's report, it lays out a massive amount of illegal conduct. So he had every right to fight and to see if it could get properly investigated. The governor, the attorney general, wouldn't give us a single piece of paper to ever look at. They hid all the paper. I know why they hid the paper. Because there were phony ballots there. And they're gonna put him in jail. They're gonna try to put him in jail for fighting for a fair election.
But how do you get a RICO charge out of that? That's why I don't understand. You would know best, right?
Yeah, it's a complete abomination.
It's insane. It's crazy.
It's a complete abomination of the law. They've made this country into a joke. A banana republic is mild compared to what it is now. With all of that, I would like to. With all of that, I would like to show you. I'd like to show you what I lost, but I'm going to tell you instead. The most recent polls are ridiculous. They're just ridiculous. Trump get every time they indict him, he goes up 10 points, and they all go. DeSantis is disappearing. It's the disappearing DeSantis.
Yeah.
Ooh, where are you? Where are you going? A couple of these polls, he's gone into 3rd place. Well, there you go.
So Mayor, what's going on, do you think, with the governor? Of course, he jumped in this race. A lot of people wanted him to get in. The media, a lot of folks in the media told us he was right there with Trump.
You want my honest? Would you like my political expertise?
I think
from
we
being
all
in
would,
5
man.
or 6 presidential elections.
I think we all
Just
would.
what I thought would happen. Rookie, very bad staff. Rookie, bad staff. Boom. To make that statement that he made about slavery.
That's tough, right?
Oh, slavery wasn't bad because you gained job experience.
He said that?
Well, no, he didn't say that, but I mean, it can be interpreted that way.
Hear that.
I'm not sure. First of all, let me make it clear. I do not believe that DeSantis in any way is a racist or anti-Semitic or any of this garbage. I think this was a mistake. This was a mistake. But when you allow these clowns to get a mistake like this, it means you're not ready. You're just not ready for you're not ready for the big time. You're just not ready. Do we have his statement, his gobbled up statement? Well, I can read it. It's not worth that much time. But
I'm loading it up, Mayor.
So what happened was he put out a curriculum on history. His administration did. And in the curriculum, it says that you have to teach middle schoolers, quote, how slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. So he was asked about that. And he was asked if he agreed with it or he disagreed with it. And he said, but I think what they're doing is, I think that they are probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed being a blacksmith into doing things later in life. In other words, this is the way you could paint that, right?
That's right, Mayor.
Slavery wasn't bad. It was like a job training program. I mean, what a jacket.
What?
Obviously,
again, a lack of
I can understand what they're trying to say. But you got to say, obviously, he should have said, this was put the wrong way. We understand what they're trying to say. They really have said it in a way that's very insensitive and very confusing. We'll make sure it's said the right way. And then go back and figure out what the right way to do it is. That's what a professional would have done. If you're a rookie, if you're a rookie, you get stuck in it, and then you get slapped by Chris Christie, who says, "Oh yeah, what a leader! I didn't do it, but if I did do it, I wasn't involved in it, and it was okay anyway, but I didn't do it." Yeah, some leader, says Christie. So Christie goes up, DeSantis goes down. He better watch out because Christie's dangerous. Who did Christie take out last time in one shot?
Marco Rubio.
Oh, yeah, he just took him out
I'm loading that up too.
Oh, Christie's dangerous. Sorry, he's a big boy. You better watch out for him coming.
Look,
No, I don't
say
know
what
about-
you will.
we're
Mayor,
talking about his political.
look, I can no longer support Christie after the lies he said about America's mayor.
Yeah, but I mean,
Outside of
no,
that,
he's dangerous.
You can't deny the man. Look, he knows what he's doing when it comes.
Just for the fun of it, he'll take out DeSantis.
Exactly.
It looks like DeSantis is not
Yeah,
ready.
he wasn't even going. I mean, I don't think his target in 16 was even Marco Rubio, right? He was trying to get Trump then. He obviously couldn't.
It doesn't look like DeSantis is ready for these guys.
Wait,
He's
Christie's
certainly not ready for
man?
Christie. I don't think he's ready for Vivek. Vivek's a really smart guy and leading him in some polls. And Haley is leading him in some polls.
Well, in South Carolina, so that's right, Mayor, right? Hasn't one of Governor DeSantis's arguments, even recent times, has been national polls, don't worry about it. We're taking this state by state. This is a presidential, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
He doesn't lead any state.
And then we look at, but that's right, Mayor. You look at the state polling in Iowa. You have
The best state he has is New Hampshire.
New Hampshire,
He's 16 points behind.
and that's his best.
Yeah.
What does that say about a campaign? What does that tell you, Mayor, as someone who's done this yourself and, of course, been a part of?
Oh, by the way,
basically every
and that
campaign
poll
since
was taken before his announcing that slavery can sometimes constitute kind of good job
Can we
training.
play that clip just to be fair to the governor? I have the clip up. I just want to. It's
You
10
know it.
seconds.
You know it's not fair to play it. Go ahead, play it.
Probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later. Probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later.
Later in life. He goes on to say later in life. He goes on to say later in life, of course.
Yeah, you see, the slavery's not bad. It could get you really high-level jobs like blacksmith.
But of course, Mayor, so we wanted to play the clip. I know you're teasing me a little bit there, but we don't want to. I don't want to.
You don't want to
fall
pile
into
on
li-
DeSantis.
Yeah, we don't want to be like the liberals are, right? Like,
I'm not piling
no,
on
you're
him.
not. You're not.
I'm not piling
you're not
on
at
him
all.
because I think he's a racist or I'm piling on him because he's a rookie.
A
The
rookie
guy
with a-
should have waited to 28, get a little experience, Ron. I went there to try to help you win when you didn't know what the hell you were doing in 18. I know. Did I tell you from the beginning he's a rookie? He also has got a staff that stinks. I don't know who they are. So get angry at me, but you guys have screwed this thing up for him. How do you give away? You gave away half your points, and you spent all your money. You raised more money than Trump, and Trump has more money than you. How is that?
Mayor, and he was
You spent money to go from 24% to 12%. That's a very good way to blow your money, pal. You know, when that happened to McCain, DeSantis, you know what he did? He fired them all. Every single last one of them, and they won. Let's see if you've got to fire them. Let's see. And actually, Ronald Reagan did something similar to that. We'll see what kind of leader you are.
Even President Trump went through a few campaign managers.
You have a staff that takes you from 24 to 12. You can't fire yourself. Well, maybe
you can drop out. You can.
Yeah.
You can drop out, get back to Florida,
Let's
deal with
see-
some of
let's
the
see-
rising
let's
house
Let's see how
insurance.
tough you are. Let's see how tough you are. Definite rookie mistake. Well, we're going to take a quick look at Gilgo, or you
We
want to
have
take some calls?
Well, we'll take some calls in a minute, but maybe we can do a quick update on Gilgo. I think a lot of our
We
audience.
will. Let me just show you the last poll I have here. You want to put that up? I like that 12% for DeSantis there. I would say thank you to my staff for that one. See that? 52, 12, 10. Then Trump against Biden. Oh, how about this one? We want Trump because Biden can beat Trump. And DeSantis says, Trump can't beat Biden. You need me to beat Biden. You see the second number down there? What does it say? Well, first one it says 12% for DeSantis. I don't think you're beating Biden if you can only get 12% of the Republican vote. You need like something like 80% of the Republican vote, or 90. 12 is a long way. But take a look at the one right below. So tell me how you make the case that you can beat Biden, but Trump can't. When he's leading him 45-40 after 2 indictments. Where's he going to be after 4? He'd probably be at 80%. You see, everybody thinks it only hurts him. It only helps him in the Republican primary when they do unfair indictments against him. They forget that the American people are fair. The more they indict him, the more independence he gets. Listen to what I told you. It's not only helping him win the primary, it's helping him win the general election, because this is way over the line, particularly as you compare it to the real, serious, historical level of the criminal conduct of the Bidens. That 45 will be 55. There were 2 more ridiculous indictments and more covering up of millions of dollars in bribes. You think it affects just you think unfairness of that kind, injustice of that kind, destruction of our criminal justice system, if it's only Republicans, like hell it does.
And do you think that's going to move some independence?
It is. He's ahead 45. He wasn't ahead of Biden before. He wasn't ahead of Biden 4 months ago. After 2 indictments, he wipes out DeSantis and he goes ahead of Biden. For some reason, their minds can't wrap themselves around it. They're not watching the numbers moving in the general election. They're not moving as big, but they're moving. He was not ahead. And look what he does to Harris.
But Mayor, what do you make if we look at the field? Of course,
3 months ago, Trump was losing to both of them. He was losing to Biden and he was losing to Harris. Now he's leading. He's been indicted twice. The same thing is happening in the general election that's happening in the Republican primary, except the numbers are smaller because he's got a bunch of entrenched Democrats that he's never going to move. But there are enough independents to move to make the election a wipeout if they keep doing it.
That's right, Mayor.
And I don't know. I mean, they don't seem to want to stop.
Well,
and the indictments get dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber. The last one, the Willis indictment, RICO in Georgia for contesting an election. My God, I mean, it's like ripping away any First Amendment rights that might remain.
Well, is there... Well, so again, give us a call at 1-646-573-5177. That's 1-646-573-5177. We'll try to take a couple calls tonight as we close out a very busy news Monday. And Mayor, before we get over to our ongoing Gilgo Beach serial killer Mayor, do you prefer Gilgo Beach or the Long Island serial killer? We needed to...
Either way, I like them both.
Like
I
both.
can call them anything you want.
I almost say Gilgo Beach is better because there were four, but the first four bodies were found there. And if you say Long Island serial killer, and it turns out he killed the four in Atlantic City, right? Then you're.
Yeah, I would say Gilgo Beach because that's where you have the 10 bodies, right?
Yep.
That's where you have the 10 bodies, and we've got 3 of them accounted for in terms of an indictment, right?
Yep. The fourth one seems to be coming, but it's not hasn't happened yet.
It should be coming very quickly. This is the first of all, this is where those are the women and the one man who were killed and deposited at Gilgo Beach. In most cases, their entire bodies. In the case, however, of Jessica Taylor, it was only a partial of her body, as well as Jane Doe. But the 4 main ones, Amber Lynn Costello, Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, they're the ones right there all together within 50 feet of each other. And then the one left is Maureen Bernard Barnes. And we are told that her indictment for her is coming down shortly. So now you've got the other 6 remains. And the question is, are they Howerman? Are they not? And now you've got a group of 4 bodies that were found right outside of Atlantic City, which are remarkably similar, but also, as usual, with a few distinctions. November 20th, 2006, at 2 p.m., they ultimately found 4 bodies. Kim Rufo, 5 years old, who was lying next to Tracy Ann Roberts, who was about the same age. And there was a 20-year-old named Molly Dilse. And there was one other, I believe, and that was Barbara Reeder, who was 42. So she was older than the pattern, but all 4 were lined up, their bodies covered, their faces facing east, and their shoes and socks removed. That's different than the pattern in Gilgo Beach. It's also 3 to 4 years earlier, but they were all sex workers. 3 of the 4 were very young, and I believe rather petite, like the 4 at Gilgo Beach. They were also all 8 of them were strangled. So it was death by strangulation. So a question, I mean, this one should be resolved rather easily, in the sense that you can pretty much look at the period of time this happened. It was pretty tight in October and November of 2006. You can see where he was. You know, was his wife away? That was always a kind of a giveaway for the other ones that happened. Was he away during that period of time? See if they can recreate where he was at that period of time. Was he down in this had to have, these were done in Atlantic City. It doesn't, I would imagine these are not ones that he took back to his house. And now in going through his house, they have found a soundproof, very, very sophisticated, I believe, soundproof room that was developed in his house. And I don't think he was a singing artist. So that obviously he was doing some dirty work in his home. And now the wife was away a lot, but the wife was there a lot also. So it could be really interesting to see how forthcoming she is about what she knows. And there had to be something There had to be something that he was giving away in using that house. So do we have any calls, Mike?
Yes, Mayor. We have Kim on the line. She is from Missouri. Kim, you are on with the mayor.
Oh, hello, Mr. Mayor.
How are you,
I
Tim?
just want to.
Kim,
I'm
how are you,
great,
Kim?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you for asking. I first want to thank you. I lived in New York for 15 years, and I got there when you just became mayor and cleaned everything up, and it was a wonderful city, and I loved it.
Well, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. New York City is the greatest city in the world.
Thank you. So-
Under your reign, of course.
So how can I help you?
I just wanted to ask, why is no one talking about how any of the corruption within the Biden crime family would not be happening without Obama's consent? And also, Mr. Mayor, I just want you to know, before you answer that question, that the American people out here in the heartland, we are not stupid. And we know that the corruption is vast and wide. We know it goes above Obama. However, no one is really talking about, even in conservative media, and I don't mean Fox.
No, I
No
know.
one's talking
Nobody
about
is
corruption.
asking the question, how could all of this
Right.
gone on and Obama not know about it, right? And I'll ask that question. First of all, Obama did know about it. Obama knew that Hillary Clinton, he was told that by Brennan and Clapper, those two scoundrels who are big liars who lied about me and Trump. He was told that Hillary had paid for had paid to develop a false charge against Trump, that Trump was colluding with the Russians. And he was told that in at least 2016. And he knew that all throughout the attempt to take a lawfully elected president out of office based on a paid for false charge. He and Biden, and he covered it up. He also had to know what Biden was doing in Ukraine. It was in the New York Times. He did nothing about it. So, I mean, he's got to be investigated from the point of view of, was it just gross negligence, or was he involved? Was he making any money? I mean, he's got a lot of money now, and people think he made it all afterwards, but I never thought he was a prince. I know they do. They kiss his feet. I never kissed his feet. Always thought he had too much training by communists before he came into government. Too much time in the church of a man who was a despicable, horrible, hateful man who despised the United States of America. Thought he spent a little bit too much time going around the world apologizing for the greatest nation on earth. And I never appreciated his wife's comment that America never did anything good until they elected him. So you got a real problem there with Obama, but you're going to have also a real problem. You're going to have a real problem going after him because he's a protected prince, even more so than Biden. And if Biden goes down, they're going to really want to protect him because the whole house of cards goes down if he goes down too. But it is a house of cards. That party should be dissolved. They should begin a new political party with honest, decent Americans who have a different point of view than Republicans, of which there are many. But they're not tarred with the history of slavery like the Democrat Party or Jim Crow or coziness with communism or now communism.
That's right, Mayor. Well, we're about 5 minutes into soccer time. Do you want to keep going or give a closing message to your viewers?
I think we'll give a closing message so I can save my voice.
That's a great idea.
And why don't we take another quick break and come back with the mayor's final comments for the evening? But let's hear from a good friend of ours, Mr. As the mayor affectionately calls him,
Mr. Pillows.
Mr. Pillows.
Long ago, Mike Lindell, the inventor of My Pillow, and his team fit me for my very own My Pillow. They also introduced me to their wide assortment of other incredible products, like their mattress topper, their sheets, towels, slippers, and more. Sleep is incredibly important to me, and I can assume for all of you. It's time you give My Pillow a try and see for yourself. Listeners have helped build My Pillow into the incredible company it is today, and Mike Lindell wants to give back to all of you. You can get great discounts on My Pillow products by going to mypillow.com right now and seeing each of the specially priced items, including those in the radio listener special square. You're going to see rotational offers up to 66% off on products like their pillows, mattress topper, Giza sheets, but also new products like their slippers, weighted blankets, robes, and waffle blankets. All My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Enter promo code Rudy for these great specials. That's mypillow.com and use the promo code Rudy. So tonight's closing remarks are just a reflection. Just consider the depths to which the Democrat Party has sunk. If there's not a single member of that party at a leadership level that is willing to go into the Oval Office and speak up for the United States of America. Because this man is disgracing the United States of America. Taking $10 million from Ukrainian organized crime as the vice president of the United States for you and your son is disgracing the United States of America. Lying about hundreds and hundreds of contacts you had with your son's foreign clients is disgracing the United States of America. Having your son act as your bag man, taking money from governments, some of them very hostile to the United States, is disgracing the United States of America. This isn't just about a crime. It isn't just about your avarice and your greed and your narcissism and your miserably evil behavior to your grandchild, which makes you not even a man. It isn't about the weird things you do to little girls. My God, you look like such a creep when you do that. It is about the fact that you're demented and you shouldn't be near that button. And nobody's got the courage to come and tell you to get the hell out of there. But let's just stick with, you've been a crook since you were 29 years old. You've sold every office that this country was stupid enough to give you. You've disgraced us over and over and over again. And you've gotten people killed that didn't have to be dead if we had a responsible president. Nobody, absolutely nobody in Ukraine that died because of the Russian invasion would be dead if Trump were in the White House. And you know that. Well, you probably don't know it. Isn't there, I just beg the Democrat Party, isn't there one person who loves America more than their money, their power, themselves, their position? They're having nice things written about them in the New York Times. They're going to cocktail parties, or they're raking in millions and millions. I mean, like the prostitutes who signed the letter about Russian collusion, accusing Trump and me of being, what did Biden say in the debate? That I'm a Russian pawn? Are you all like that? Are you all prostitutes like that? I mean, that much worse than those poor women. Much worse than those poor women who died. You are a disgrace to this country. And you should be out. Bigger disgrace is that nobody in your party will come to you like Barry Goldwater did with Richard Nixon and say it's time to go for the good of the country. Well, I'm going to say it to you. It's time to go for the good of the country. Please, God, give someone the courage to get him out of there, because he is disgracing our great country, and damage after a while could be irreparable. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. My voice will be back. You'll be back, and we'll be fighting for our way of life. God bless America. Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.